Mexican and picked up a new Oldsmobile. Saw it when it came off the assembly line.
You went to East Lansing?
Yeah, Lansing, Michigan. That's where Oldsmobile was made.
Is that when John O'Brien went with you? Who was
Yeah,
it?
John O'Brien.
John
You went there specifically to get a car?
Huh?
You went there to go buy a car?
You got it when
Got
it
the
came
car.
off the assembly
So I
line.
saw it when it came off the assembly line.
That was the one Merle had the wreck on and hurt
Yeah.
her knee, wasn't it? Merle had a
The
wreck.
same one.
He hit,
How much did it cost? How much did it cost?
Second one to drive it.
How much did it cost?
Cost $998 FO Michigan.
And you drove it from Michigan back to Roxborough?
That's right.
And is your car?
Well, it was a family car.
Family car.
Yeah.
That's why my mom was in it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And how'd she have the wreck?
One of her friends, sort of a friend, hit her. Was it one of the Monday girl that was sort of indirectly in the family because Healing Walker married
Whose fault was it?
It was her fault. The other girl's fault, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
The Monday girl's fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, see, it was foggy that morning. And Merle was going to work, and I told her to carry the car and get it washed. And right up there,
Longhurst somewhere.
you know where Alvin Dickerson's old place used to be?
Yeah, because that's where we were. We went right
It was
by.
right in front of that. Well, Merle was going into town, and this
Going to work.
girl was working at CNA, and it was a road scrape. And she was passing that road scrape coming down there on Merle's side of the street.
Was there snow on the ground?
I don't think so.
What was the road scrape out there for?
Well, they scraped these dirt roads with them.
Oh, they
The
did?
side ditches and all, they come along here and
There
clean
wasn't
out
no
the ditches.
snow.
and all.
Okay. And so she was trying to pass when she.
She was coming this way and Merle was
Right.
going
So they
the
hit.
other way.
What did they do? Almost head on?
Well, they hit on them to
Side.
Merle's left front wheel side.
And she hurt what, the left knee?
That's at her knee.
Yeah.
How about that?
And went to court on it. And this Monday lady, the girl's brother come in here. He'd been in the, I believe, Navy or something. And he told her not to pay off. So we had to the lawyer had to lock up her tobacco in order to get the money.
Holy cow. That's stupid.
Well,
So when you came back from Chicago, y'all have not gotten married yet.
No, we didn't get
So
married
you come back
before
over to
we
take over the store. So you're working in the store by yourself. You come back from Chicago to take over the store.
yeah.
And that's 46?
Yeah, Bud had already gone then, hadn't he? Did Bud had
Oh
him?
yeah, Bud already gone.
What do you mean by gone? It died, or
He'd left the store, you know, he was working the partner.
that was his partner,
He
wasn't it?
left in 1940,
SP bought out Bud's
39 or
part.
40 when Bud left. I got the
Did he leave because he got his part bought out from him?
No, he wanted
He wanted to leave.
He was going
Yeah.
up there.
He wanted to move up here with some of his kin people.
You know where Archie
Okay,
Rand's
gotcha.
place is.
He
Archie
taken the money
Rand.
and built another store, and him and William White went in together.
William White was kin to him.
They were kin to.
And
So
he
your
had
father,
to call.
your father bought him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take over the store, and then y'all are dating for another year. Another year,
Been
and
there
then
ever
Couple of
since.
years.
when how did he propose to you?
On the way back from down here, I guess it was. It took his daddy to Baltimore, to Johns Hopkins Hospital. He was going to Duke, one of the best hospitals in the nation, but Miss Dollar got the idea that everybody thought, well, they ought to try to take him to Johns Hopkins. In
What are they
Baltimore
trying to find out?
to find out really what his problem was. Why wouldn't they do something to make him better rather than have to keep him in the back and forth to Duke Hospital.
What are the symptoms?
Well, it started out he had appendicitis, and then what happened to him the second time? Because he didn't have that stroke until after we got married.
Is he in pain?
Yeah, he
Or
was
just
sick.
or just feels bad all
Just
the time?
sick and couldn't do anything.
He just feels sickly all the time?
Anyway, they took him to Baltimore. I went with SB and them up there. Well, Frank went too. Merle didn't go. Frank went to help do the driving. And, of course, Miss Della, and they spent the night and all that stuff. But they didn't, actually made him worse. Because the very next day, they had to take him back to Duke.
What do you mean? The test they ran made him worse, or what?
Well, the ride. He wasn't in any shape to go up and ride all that distance and then come back. Cause,
What did John Hopkins say was wrong with him?
well, I don't know. They seem to think that from his records that Duke had done everything that, they could do. His heart was bad and,
Oh, his heart, no.
what all.
Sounds like he had congestive heart failure or something, doesn't it?
Or just stress from
Yeah.
him being in the
worried
army?
himself
Well,
to death.
to start with, he had appendicitis.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
went over to the hospital, and it was a woman in there from Burlington that had this virus pneumonia. They didn't know nothing about it then. And she was on the same ward that he was, and he got it.
So she got a bad cold from her infection.
No, pneumonia, viral pneumonia.
They didn't know how to treat it then.
Well, back then,
It was something new.
they couldn't tell viral pneumonia from bacterial, because I know when Jenny was, baby Becky and them were going on a trip somewhere, and they got ready to go, it wasn't quite time, they still had time to get her well. And Becky told the doctor, said, well, I need to find out what's wrong with her, because we're supposed to go on this trip. And so they gave her what they thought was for viral pneumonia.
Right.
And she didn't get any better, and it was getting close to time for them to go, and they took her to another doctor, a specialist or something. And she told them what she was treating her for. They said, well, she's got bacterial pneumonia. As soon as they started treating her for that, she got all right. So probably something like that happened in his daddy's case.
So he's in and out of Duke
Duke.
for 3 years, from 47 to 50, when he finally passes away.
Yeah, right before Frankie was born.
May of 50.
He had a stroke then. He had
Right, I
a stroke
remember.
while he was eating breakfast one morning. That was after we got married.
So you guys got married. When was this house was built? When?
We'll be married
56.
60 years, December the 2nd.
And when was this house built?
And this house was built and we moved in it on Kathy's second birthday, 56. But we added on in 73 when Becky got
Well,
married.
Where'd you live from 47 to
In our
70?
apartment house out there, those 3 little rooms on the side next
Over
to
here?
us.
Oh, okay.
Then
You
we
were in
took
the one, was it James Carver lived in? Is that the one y'all lived in?
Jim Carver. Now,
You remember?
we lived on, the one he lived in last.
So I thought,
So 53 comes and you use the money from the highway buyout
Yeah.
to build this house.
Used the money to build
Used the
a store.
materials.
Build a
to
store.
Build a store.
Use the materials
But he used the
Yeah, used
materials
the
out of the
material,
old
yeah.
store.
to build
Just
this
like
house.
the materials that were out in Miss Della's house built that store up on the corner that burned, where that house next to
the little one across from
the
the
house.
PC.
You remember the Rutter's store they called
Oh,
it?
really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He wanted that. He said he was just going to build him a little shack, back in the back just to play cards and stuff.
And when was
But
this
all
house
time
built?
he was building a store. What?
When was this house built? Or the one
Uh,
Grandma lived in?
This one we moved in house in 56.
No, that one right there.
No, that one 58.
58.
That was built in 58. So they moved in 58 from the White House into the brick house.
Yeah. But the house wasn't torn down right away.
No,
I know, because we played in
that.
it.
We played in it,
Yeah.
that's right.
We played into it up until the 60s.
Yeah.
Mhm. I jumped on
And
it.
then that's when Rudder wanted to, because they were going to tear it down or do something, he wanted to get the lumber to build him a little getaway place, he said. All the time he had in mind building a store, but it didn't make any difference. He never did hurt us.
Well, did
Yeah.
the house sit there empty from 58 till y'all tore it down? Nobody lived in
Yeah,
it?
nobody lived in it.
I think waste, doesn't it?
Because Frank and Estelle lived in a little house that we tore down and built this house on. They lived out there before they got married.
Never had a sag door or.
In this house?
Walk floor across the floor, you don't feel it.
Yeah, I remember.
No weak spots in
Jumped
this
off on
this
the nail,
house here.
Jumping off the porch.
That fish pond used to have
The SB built that.
Goldfish.
You built
Yeah.
the one. You built that?
Yeah. You built the fish pond.
Yeah.
How deep was it?
It was about waist deep on the Robert.
I don't know, because as a kid I was told it was like 20 feet deep.
Well, he was around, yeah, and a kid.
How do you know? Did you fall in or something?
No, we play around it now.
Okay.
Frank used to put minnows in it too.
Yeah.
Was that its main purpose just the little goldfish pond? When did you build it?
Well, it was 35 on it. Want that to date on the scratched on the cement?
Well, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
he graduated from high
Yeah.
school.
Would you
Wow.
build it for grandma?
What'd you build it for?
Just
Cement.
Yeah, why?
Farm poured cement around.
Why?
And rock had rock on top of it.
Would you do it? Why? Because your mom wanted you to? Did you
he
do it
just
for
wanted
grandma?
to do it. Was that one of your projects from school?
No,
Why'd you do it?
no. I had a cow as my project at school.
A what?
I had a
Cow.
milk cow.
A cow was his project. He took agriculture and all too when he was.
So why did you build
Why'd
it?
you build a pond?
You just wanted to build it, huh?
Just be wanted to do it. Well, one thing, see, I built a septic tank that used for sewage.
Okay.
And later on, I decided I'd build a goldfish pond.
He just decided.
And this lady from, her car broke down, and I took her to South Boston. She was selling tobacco. And I had built the pond, and she told me to come out there and says, I'll give you lilies to stock it with. And she did. It had lilies, some nice lilies.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
We raised goldfish.
What do you mean by raising goldfish? You sell them?
No, we didn't sell them.
Just let them stay in there?
They let them stay in
Okay.
there. It was loaded at one time.
Yeah, no line.
Yeah.
And
Mama
my-
liked them. She liked to feed them.
Is that why? Did you do it for her? Or just for you?
Well, I built it just to have
he just
something.
liked
to
Just
do.
to have
think it was
something.
all the time.
That's
And my
interesting.
sister Mary Ellen lived out there in that bedroom closest to the Pixleys for 1 year. They slept out that night because she married Robert Sanford and they didn't have any extra bedroom. And when they got married, she and Robert rented that room. We basically just kept the clothes down.
What year was it when you got that car from General Motors?
Or the Oldsmobile,
Oh, I'm sorry, Oldsmobile,
1941.
1941.
Yeah,
Was that your first car that you purchased?
No.
What's the first car you owned?
Well, that was a
What
family
first car you
car.
drove? What's the first car you drove?
I was after I got out of the army when I got one.
You had
No.
an Essex. Your dad had an Essex one time.
My daddy had an Essex,
Yeah.
bought it in 1928.
That's the first car you drove?
Oh, no. I drove a T-model before that.
How old were you?
Oh, I was driving a car when I was 10, 12 years old.
Yeah, my brother was. He was carrying us to school when he was about
But
13.
back then in,
He didn't.
you didn't have to have
Yeah,
a license,
driver's
driver's license.
When did that
Driver's
start?
license Back then.
When did they start requiring licenses?
I don't know.
I know
imagine
DC
it
didn't
was
have any
about-
license when he took us to
Was it
school.
after World War II?
It was for World War II. I'd say,
Yeah, because my mother, the driver test was just them going up to the guy that issued them with her father, and there wasn't a test. He just asked him, "Is she ready is she capable driver now?" Yes, and that was it. On his word. Is that how you got? Is that how you got your license?
I went with my daddy and Dr. Merritt. They had a tough guy up there. And that's all we had to do.
Just vouch that you're a good driver.
Give him a name and to age and sign it up.
When'd you get your license?
remember. It was in the, I'd say, late 29, 28, 29. Whenever they started.
When you were like 14 or 12?
Been 39.
Huh?
More like
Is it, were you graduated from high
36,
school?
I think it was 36, 36.
Is this before you got out of high school? In
Oh.
35?
You didn't have to have one, I don't think, when I got out of high school.
Okay, so you got yours after high school, your license.
Yeah.
Okay, late 39.
yeah, 39. Not
This
29.
was a tough guy. It was hard to get him. But Dr. Merritt and him were friends. And my dad and Dr. Merritt and I went up there and got them all the same time.
Now is this with a,
First, when you first started.
are you driving with a clutch?
Huh?
You driving
Yeah,
with a clutch?
the clutch then.
I
You had a clutch. You had to. You didn't have the automatic
Oh,
shift.
no,
You had a
that
clutch.
was-
I know. I learned. on
You're
it.
driving a clutch
They
at
didn't
12
even
years
have an
old?
automatic then.
Oh yeah.
You're driving a clutch at 12
Boys,
years old?
but anything
Yeah.
mechanical.
I drove a school bus with a clutch. It wasn't
Yeah.
automatic.
I'm talking about at 12. That's
Yeah. Well, my brother was.
when did you
12.
start driving?
Oh, I didn't ever drive until after we got a license. Till after we got married.
You didn't start driving until after
Then
you got
I
married?
quit.
Oh,
She
okay.
didn't drive much since
SB
she
said
quit.
You
he was
saved
so
your,
curious about a
you
car.
saved your first license, SP?
Huh?
You still got your first license?
No.
Well, it didn't have your picture on it, did it?
Oh.
Just
No,
had-
they didn't put the pictures on
No,
the first one.
pictures on.
Daddy used to drive Dr. Merritt around on his errands to visit patients. A lot of the
And
boys
Miss
used to do
Bean
that.
too, didn't a whole lot of them around here drove that old teacher that taught down there, the Miss Bean.
Oh, really?
Carried her because she lived uptown and
Did he pay you?
I don't know.
Dr. Merritt
They
paid
did
you?
it just to drive, just to.
Oh, just to get some driving experience?
And making $8 a month when I drove the school bus.
But you
That's what
didn't
they
get paid for hauling Miss Beam or Dr. Merritt
Oh
around.
no, I didn't hold his
Because
business.
he'd take them to ball
I
games
hauled
and
Dr.
stuff
Merritt.
like that.
So Dr. Merritt didn't pay you, but they took you to ball games or did other things
I
for you?
just ride with him around, drive for him.
Okay.
We went to see the Rose Bowl game when it was played in Duke.
And Duke,
Yeah. He got the tickets.
1941,
Mhm.
Yeah.
January 1st.
I saw the last Virginia and Carolina game that was played on Thanksgiving in 41. They used to play every Thanksgiving, Carolina and Virginia.
What, alternating places?
Yeah.
And so this is the last one at Chapel Hill?
They played at Chapel Hill the last one, 41.
Wow.
Your daddy and a whole bunch of us went to that Carolina, was it Carolina and Duke where we got the tickets
Yeah.
at Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
And Merle couldn't go because that's when she was expecting that first baby.
Uh-huh.
And so I was at home for Thanksgiving. SB was down there and his grandmother died and he came home and left me down there. And Daddy let my youngest brother bring me back. He wanted to go to that ball game. And SB already had gotten some tickets.
I had 12
He
tickets.
had 12 tickets. And
I
so
buy them
Bernice-
every year.
Were they hard to
But
get?
that broke me.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
buy no more.
but
Were
he
they
didn't
hard
Couldn't give
wait.
them away.
Huh?
Couldn't give the tickets away.
I don't know who Bob went with. Who did Bob go? Because he'd already left and gone when we got back in.
You bought the tickets and you couldn't find enough people to give them out to?
No, nobody wanted them. It was cold, freezing
It
weather.
turned cold.
At
But
Thanksgiving?
it was warm when we left Richmond. And I told my brother, I said, you better get you another.
I believe I
Jacket just
had
in
about
case.
18 tickets.
But then when
That Thanksgiving Day it was freezing, huh?
it wasn't Thanksgiving Day, it was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
I think, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, Saturday after
On
Thanksgiving.
Saturday.
Anyway, when we got here, Bernice Wren and them were waiting for my brother and myself because we were going with Bill and Bernice and Thornton Anderson.
You had two of your brothers went, didn't you?
Nah, Sub was the only one.
Oh,
He
sub.
was
I
the
thought BC went.
No, not BC. Anyway, we got done. They said, "Well, y'all better go grab something to be warm. It's gonna be freezing cold." And I said, "Well, it's not all that bad. The wind was getting up." So I just went and grabbed old Afghan off of the sofa, which had all those holes
Right.
in it. It wasn't a closely woven one. And got that, and just happened to R.B. Pixley was he seated. He and SB didn't you didn't give R.B. RB a ticket, did you?
Well, they all paid me for the ticket. I'd buy the
Okay.
tickets and they'd pay me for them.
Okay, anyway, RB ended up was sitting next to us. I don't know where Bob was sitting. He wasn't with us either. And it
This is
was so
1941.
cold. You didn't see anybody drinking liquor, nothing.
This is 1941.
Yeah, and no, this was after.
No.
that was
1950.
after-
No, I was gonna say it had to be after
No,
World War II.
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
1950.
when your mama was
1950.
Because
pregnant.
Charlie Justice is Choo Choo Justice is playing, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's what my brother. He always loved Carolina. I don't know what. He always wanted to go to Carolina. He was into sports real big, and so he got no. He was driving Daddy's car. He didn't have a car, and so Daddy said, "Well, yeah, you can drive the car and take Francis back, and y'all go to the ball game, and then you come on back home." But it was so cold, we nearly froze to death, and when they got up to the game, we stayed till the game was over though.
Any idea how
We
cold it
decided-
was?
Yeah, R.B. Pixley had one of those old army blankets, and he let us share that because he had on all these
Was it
coats.
windy?
Windy and cold.
Okay,
as
that's why.
dickens.
The wind.
And
chill.
it wasn't raining or anything, but it looked like it was going to snow and all anyway. It's just so
So it's
bitter cold.
overcast too.
It was 12 degrees, 12 degrees. Because Carl Bush on the radio said anybody that went to this ball game ought to be put in Dix Hill, and the ones in Dix Hill let out. Dix Hill is a crazy house, you know.
In Durham.
Yeah, Dorothy Dix
Dix
Hospital.
Hill. And he kept saying, anybody at that ball game today, and I said, that's us he's talking about. But then when it got ready to get up, I couldn't walk. I was just numb. I said, "Sub, you gonna have to hold on to me because I don't believe I can even walk." He said, "The devil, my feet are frozen."
Was the game in Chapel Hill?
Yeah, we were still
Who
in
won?
Chapel Hill.
Yeah, who won?
Who won?
Who did when I forgot?
Who won the game?
I don't know. I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go?
You got the tickets and you didn't go?
No,
No,
I had
he
to go to
didn't
my
go.
grandmother's
His grandmother
funeral.
Oh,
died.
that's right,
see.
funeral.
He had
We
Oh,
didn't
that's
go
right.
to the
November.
grave.
Yeah. November 20th, 1950. That's right, 1950.
I didn't go to the grave. We all stayed in the church. It was so rough.
And your
Wow.
mama really should have gone to the doctor that day because she
That's
Yeah,
right,
well,
that's when she lost the baby in
yeah, she
December.
lost the baby,
13th.
but she
Yeah.
started spotting and all, and she swelled up real bad. And because I'd been telling her, I said, Merle, you better be going to the doctor, because I said a lot of women they swell like that when it's hot weather or when it's close to time, but it wasn't time for the baby. And she said, oh no, I said I feel all right, but she was eating a lot of baby roosts and all, and gaining a lot of weight, and not active and all either. And like I said, she started spotting it, but she wouldn't go to the doctor until she went back to, was still living in Raleigh then, I guess, weren't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. And, yeah, 'cause I went up there and stayed with her when
He was
you
down
were
in
born.
Wilmington auditing.
When Robert was born, I went up there.
Oh.
I don't know, wonder if that done any good though. I mean, it was early and they didn't know as much as they did.
No, but anyway, they the doctor over at the hospital that night when she finally did go, told us that you ought to be getting out here tonight and get yourself a new doctor. See, she was coming over here to Roxborough because you could have a baby for $50 up here in the hospital, 50, and it was 150 at Watts. I don't know how much it was in Duke.
Interesting.
And so, no, she wanted to have it up here, so she could,
Save some
we
money.
could supple out, look.
But the doctor tried to tell her she needed a specialist, didn't he?
Yes,
Emergency
that you
room
need
doctor.
to go out here and see she was just going to a regular practitioner, Dr.
Right,
Hitchcock.
then that guy was disbarred.
Well,
That's
if
for
it
some-
hadn't been for Dr. Gentry, she would have died.
Later he was.
The guy that handled Mom's case was
Yeah, he
disbarred.
I didn't know that
Maybe
later
not.
on.
Right, matter of fact, she was the last one he delivered.
I did not know that.
Because, well, she went to Durham, and those guys looked into it, and when I saw how badly managed it, and they opened an investigation, and found another case, and went, okay, this guy shouldn't be practicing medicine.
So Dr. Hedgepeth was disbarred?
Is that his name?
Yeah, it hadn't been for
yeah,
Dr.
well, that's
Gentry,
right.
not
Hedgepeth.
only was the baby, but she would have died. Old Dr. Gentry,
Yeah.
Dr. Hedgepeth hadn't been here too long, and he had never seen anybody. They call it preeclampsia now, but they call it just
He was
plain.
supposed to be a baby doctor.
Oh, well, yeah, that was his
Right.
specialty.
was mine.
But,
When she lost the baby, you made a comment up there in Greensboro.
Well, maybe. I don't
Y'all, you remember weighing the baby in the store?
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
when.
they brought the baby out here and the ambulance.
Who brought the
Uh,
why were y'all getting the
funeral
baby?
car or something. Anybody brought there because the baby had the prettiest
Yeah,
hair,
it's
just
a
a
pretty
hair.
baby.
Looked like she was 6 months old instead of a newborn baby.
Well, I guess in those days, the funerals were held at the house, you know.
Yeah, so
reception.
they brought the baby to you, and then you had to turn up to the funeral home.
Then they went on back to the funeral home with it.
Yeah, brought it out there and waited in the old store.
How much did she weigh?
I got the scales that the baby was weighed on then.
I've forgotten how much she weighed, but she had to been pretty big because she looked like a 6 months old baby instead of a newborn.
Over 8 pounds.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Wow.
Mm-mm-mm. Did you know the doctor was disbarred after Ambrose?
What?
Paul said this. Dr. Hedgepath was disbarred after this. After the doctors looked
I
into.
don't know. Didn't everybody was scared to have a baby.
I thought we used Dr. Hedgepath as our baby doctor.
No, I just go up there sometime for just minor things.
Well, so he was still practicing then.
Well, no, yeah, he was still practicing a right good while after that, but he couldn't.
Maybe he couldn't
I
do
don't
any.
know of any babies.
Maybe he couldn't do any
Right.
surgery.
Maybe that was, or yeah,
Yeah.
working on babies. So when y'all built this house, you never went into debt.
Never what?
You never borrowed any money
No.
to build the house.
To build this house?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
What
you
did we
did?
borrow? $7,000?
I borrowed $4,000.
4,000 or something.
Really?
Mm.
That's a lot of money back then.
Oh, sure. Didn't cost but $6 to build it. Put the cement, brick, everything.
Okay. When was the
It
first?
cost it cost about 2 or 3 times more to add on those rooms when we had them on in '73 than it did to build it. And don't ask how much that elevator cost.
No. When was the first time you saw the ocean?
First time I went to see the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good gracious! I saw the ocean when I was in high school and all.
Because Richmond's right there, and
Yeah, not far from Norfolk and all. We'd go down there. Daddy'd go deep sea fishing, and we'd go to Chesapeake Bay and stuff.
and what about you?
Oh,
You probably went to Carolina Beach or somewhere when you were in high school, didn't you?
oh, went to see the Lost Colony there. When old, what's his name played
Andy-
on there?
Andy Griffith?
Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith. Yeah.
So that's the first
We
time.
went, one year, Bernice Wren got sick,
He got sunburned one year.
Sunburned.
Now, I knew that was way back
passed
there.
out in South Hill. I had to drive his car the rest of his way home.
So you were.
Stayed out of work for 3 weeks. He
he's
couldn't even
fast
go to
skinned
bed.
anyway.
He got so sunburned.
Oh my God.
And I stayed out there the same amount of time he did and didn't even get a good tan good.
Well, y'all didn't have suntan
But I
lotion
was
back
used
then?
to it.
I got burnt up down Virginia Beach. Daddy threatened to lock me up in the closet and not let me out because it was cloudy. And I was with his cousins that were here today. That we were down there, and she said, "Well," I said, "Well, why are y'all packing up all this stuff? Because we'd been down there 3 or 4 days." And I said, "Well, I'm going to lay on the beach." And it was cloudy, just as cloudy as it could be, but windy. And boy, I got burned up. The bottoms of my feet were burned. I had to ride back. It's a good thing we were in a car. I couldn't stand for my clothes to touch me. So I couldn't stand for the seam, so I rode back in the car with just my slip on and turned wrong side outwards. So it, that wouldn't be rubbing me. So, and then just wrapped up in like a beach blanket or something.
So
To
the
get
first time
home.
you went to the beach was in high school, after high school?
After high school.
And you went to Manio.
Well, I went to Carolina most of the time.
But the first time you went was...
I went with Merle and Bob down there in 1950.
Where?
We went to,
Myrtle Beach,
no, on Myrtle Beach. What's the beach?
Wrightsville.
Oh,
That
we
time I
went-
got sick and had to come home.
Oh, we went to Atlantic Beach.
Yeah,
Oh, Morehead City.
That
We
one
were
of
supposed to
Bob's
stay down
friends
there a
and his
week.
wife. Yeah, that was a nearest nothing place then, but it's right nice they said now.
Yeah, it's not bad. What,
That's
what
when I
happened to
lost
you?
my two-piece bathing suit.
Well, I had,
The top off.
we went to the,
First time I'd had a two-piece bathing suit.
we went to the dog races.
That's all they wanted to go for. See, it was right there at
They-
Moorhead. And all they
We
wanted
bet
to do
on
was
the
go
dog
to the dog
racing.
racing.
Who?
All of us.
Who's us?
Bob and SB
Bob.
and Vince.
And,
Vince,
what was the
that
other
boy?
guy's name?
Vince something. Bob worked it with Bob and Marshall.
Y'all went
and
hung out at the
Stapleton.
dog tracks?
Yeah, when,
Yeah, only
Like-
thing I like to see those old ladies act like a fool like the dogs. Run if they had a dog that
we
they
got back to the, by 12 o'clock. I ate a can of Vienna sausage. Nothing was open. You won't not know, everything closed up.
Uh-huh.
We carried a lot of stuff with us.
Yeah, well, we did
And,
our own cooking and almost.
About 4 or 5, I think about 5:30. And I was tore up. Carried me to the hospital. They said I had kidney colic.
Ooh.
And stayed on till Tuesday. I knew I had a stone. I couldn't stay no more. I had to come.
Oh, so because he had kidney stones. No, it wasn't food poisoning from the sausage.
Oh no, it was kidney stones.
Oh no, I
The
had,
one
had a
he
stone.
passed, you
Stayed
were
in-
not.
I stayed in Old Watts 2 weeks with it,
Yeah.
14 days
Yeah, he was in the hospital.
before they ever got it.
But if you could have seen what he passed, I don't know how much you know about your anatomy and all.
Well,
But the tube in a man is smaller than
Right.
it is in a woman.
right.
Well, that stone that they got out of him, they got some more, but this one, do you know what jack rocks look like when the kids bounce the ball and play with these little
Yeah.
things? Well, that thing looked just like a jack rock. It had all of these prongs on it.
Ooh.
Looked almost exactly like one.
Holy
And
cow.
every time that thing would pass through that tube, that little prong on it, that's what was causing that excruciating pain.
Oh my goodness.
And that
But
thing is
he
killing
had
me.
some troubles after that, but they put him on a diet, Mazola oil and all, and I still use Mazola oil. And I couldn't have any fatty stuff fried and all that.
And that was you were out in the ocean at Atlantic
In
Ocean.
Atlantic Beach,
Atlantic
I
Beach.
don't know what Merle and
Bob and Merle and
You had your
and
first-
Vinny
that was
and
your
oh, we
first
like to get
two-
out there early, Bob and Vince and
There
myself.
was another guy that was went in with them. I
No, I
think.
wasn't anybody out there, but
Well, what's so special about getting out there swimming
I
early?
mean, it
well,
stayed
just
with us
getting
at the
out on
beach,
I
didn't
like to walk on the beach
Okay.
early and all that
It
stuff.
wasn't like before the sun got
See,
really
I
bad.
couldn't get out there so much because I'd already been sunburned bad
Right.
at home, and like died from sunburn.
So you're swimming in the ocean. Is this like August or?
No, it must have been in July, whenever Bob got his vacation or whenever.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
So you're in the ocean with
yeah,
the two-piece,
at Atlantic Beach, yeah.
and a wave hit you wrong.
Why?
A wave hit you wrong.
Yeah, there was waves coming on in those two-piece bathing suits, so I'm not heavily endowed like most women. And it just the force of the waves, and just having Bob say, he said, "Francis, I believe you're losing some." So I got it right quick. Vince had gone on out there a little further anyway. He didn't see, and nobody much was out there but us.
So Uncle Bob handed it back to you.
Yeah.
Where was Uncle SB?
I don't know. He was sleeping, I reckon. All he wanted to do was sleep. And I don't know what Merle and, it was Vince's wife, Mary something. What was his last name? Do you remember?
I don't remember Vince. No.
Well, they stayed friends for a long time and stayed in touch, but,
That was the 1950 trip. Okay.
yeah, but I mean, I thought maybe you'd heard him talk about Vince.
No, I don't remember him.
1950 trip, that was the year Emerald was pregnant then, wasn't it?
What year did you say it was?
Could have been.
What year did you say this beach trip was?
I thought it was.
It was in his summer, but it,
It was.
Wait.
Yeah, but I believe 1950 when I went to the hospital
Well, that was
But-
right after we were at the beach. 'Cause
Well, that
you
was
got
when your
sick.
granddaddy died,
I thought it
and
was
Barbara
1950.
died, and so that was
And grandmother.
and your grandma. That was three things right there.
Frankie was born.
And Frankie was born. Yeah.
It could have been,
What are you?
I've forgotten what years he was at, Marshall's in Lynchburg. You don't remember what years? Cause that's what he
No.
Yeah, but
left
I think that was before 1950. And,
Yeah, it
that's-
must have
I
been,
think so, too.
I didn't go to the hospital then when we come back from the beach. It didn't bother me. It was
for a while,
sometime.
but then you had to
It
go
was sometime after that.
You were down the hall from Miss Lottie Walker. I remember that. She had to lay
Yeah.
flat of her back.
It
from
was
surgery.
when we went down to the beach. It was before 1950
Okay.
Yeah, it must have
Yeah.
been
because I didn't.
49.
I come home and it got all right. It didn't bother me. And then I had a spell later, and they told me I had a stone.
Okay. I know about your job history. What was your first job?
My first job was teaching.
Teaching.
Well, no, I had a summer job during the war. They wanted everybody to work, and I worked at Virginia Carolina Chemical about 2 weeks, cutting the sandbags when it came off of the. This was the summer after when I graduated, before I went to college.
41.
That was in summer of 41 before I went away to college. And boy, they had all these people that would talk the foulest mouth you ever heard. They just nauseated
At the
me.
factory?
Yeah, in that factory. It was a chemical company, you know. And all I had to do was sit there and clip those bags. You had to clip them real fast because they'd come off the assembly line, you know, all connected together. And you clip the threads so that you could separate them and fill them with sand or whatever they sent them. And so I worked there 2 or 3 weeks because I didn't even think anything about it. I said I didn't want that job. And when I went to apply for Social Security, I didn't put that down as a place, you know, because school teachers weren't covered by Social Security then when I went. And so they said, well, I see here you worked at a chemical company. And I said, oh my word, I don't think I worked but 2 or 3 weeks. I couldn't stand that place. And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you. And anyway, I taught school. See, there's a shortage of teachers. All the men had gone to war and women were nurses and stuff. And so they taught me into the last 2 years that, to go on and take these education courses because they needed teachers and all. And so I did it, and I got a job. Didn't have any trouble getting a job, of course. And it happened to be up at Alexandria, called Park Fairfax. It wasn't far from the Pentagon in Arlington, you know, that area of Washington. Anyway, I hit it lucky, finding a place to board. You'd never dream had happened. This Italian couple had been over here since to the United States after World War I, came over, and he worked as a foreman in cement finishes in some government job in Washington, but lived in Alexandria, which is just across the river. And he would stop in Daddy's store, going and coming. He had bought a farm, he made some money, and some way, some connection, I never have known why he invested in that farm in Powhatan County. Oh, actually, I think it was Cumberland County a little further. But he banked on his transactions with that farm and stuff. He banked with the Bank of Powhatan, the same bank that Daddy worked with, you know, had his accounts and all stuff. You know. And so Daddy, you know, had seen him many times, and you know, see him when he'd come in to pay for the gas and whatever. And so one day he stopped there when I was fixing to go to Alexandria to look for a job, place to live. And Daddy saw the Alexandria license plate, and he said, I see you got Alexandria license plate. And he said, yeah, we've been living there for I don't know how many years. And he said, is it hard to find a place to live up there? And he said, well, yeah, most of it is taken over by government workers and stuff like that. And they talked on a while, and Daddy said, well, we got to go up there and find my daughter a place to board, because she's supposed to start teaching right after Christmas. And he said, well, I tell you what, she could speak better English than he could, but he was pretty good. But, you know, they still have that little accent like. And so he said, I tell you what, he said, I'll give you my address, and said, you all come up Sunday and come to our house, and we'll have something there you can eat, drink, or whatever you want, and we can, you know, check around. And then after came Aunt Ruth, one of Daddy's sisters, and her husband went with us. And of course, the first thing they did when we got up there, they brought out that red wine, because you know, he drank wine. He'd drink wine and raw eggs for breakfast and stuff. And he ordered his grapes from California, and he made the red wine to drink and the white wine to cook with. They cooked with a lot of white wine. They didn't have any children. She couldn't have any children, because it gave her too much radium one time when she had a female problem. And she always wanted a child so bad and all. And she said, oh, we would be happy to have her stay here with us if she would be happy here. And said she could have a room to herself, and had a telephone in that room and everything. And I knew I could get along with anybody. I'd gotten along with my stepmother. I could get along with the devil. And, so I said, Daddy said, you think you'll like her? I said, yeah. And she said, well, I tell you what, you stay here. Well, and if you don't think you like it, said we'll go around, we can check, and while she's here, and she won't miss any time from work, and see if she can find something else. Said, I don't want to, you know, pressure you to. And I didn't have to pay but $45 a month then. And so I stayed there. I didn't want to go anywhere else. Boy, all of them at school wanted to say, what if she take in anybody else? And I said, no, I don't think she doesn't take in boarders. She just doing me a favor. And I had that room to myself and everything. And so she said, well, now, I want you to, first thing I want you to do when you get your paycheck is buy you a hope chest. Because she loved to sew. She was a seamstress in one of the high-class dress shops in Washington, Rizik's. That was the exclusive shop in Washington. And said, I can be making you some pretty things. And she loved to crochet and do all that fancy stitching on. And but every week I'd come home, she'd have pillowcases with that embroidered and that fancy edging on it, or a dress, a scarf. I got one in that now. And stuff, she was always making me stuff. And she said, now see, when you get married, you'll have a good start. You'll have all these things that you usually don't have money to buy, you know, to purchase when you start out. And so I loved it up there. One summer they went back to Italy to see her folks. And she wanted me to go with her, but she was going to be gone a month. And so we were sort of, you know,